We hear it all the time. We live in one of the wealthiest countries in the world. Resources and opportunity right at our fingertips. While much of this is true, there are still neglected and starving children here and many more across the world. How can this be, and what can we do to help? We'll find out more in just a minute.
Welcome to All Around Rockford, a community-minded program featuring events, ministry and guests from around the State Line area. All Around Rockford is designed to inform, uplift and encourage its viewers with relevant topics for the entire family in today's challenging world. This program is donor-supported and locally produced with you in mind. And now here is our host, Holly Swanson, with today's All Around Rockford.
Today we meet some people who are dedicated to feeding hungry children and changing the lives of thousands of underprivileged children in Uganda. My first guests today are Phil Klickus and Ray Zinkle, founders of Child Initiative International. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Glad you guys could come here. So how did Child Initiative get started in the first place?
In March of 2006, Ray and myself were asked by Four Winds Ministries to go on a missions trip with them. To Kampala, Uganda, Kampala being the capital city. And when we got there, it became blaringly obvious that there were a lot of problems with kids. I mean, Africa is absolutely beautiful. Uganda is absolutely beautiful.
Okay.
But the problems involving the children were very blatantly right in front of you.
What did you see?
Just a lot of filth, a lot of kids walking with nothing, not even parents. We've seen older kids carrying babies, and they watched them all day with no clothes, maybe just a t-shirt. And we've seen the same clothes every day, every day.
Now you went out there, it was on a missions trip, so you weren't going to speak to these kids, but that's when you saw them flocking to you?
Correct, yes. We had actually, there was no intention of us going there to start this organization. We were actually going there on a crusade with Four Winds to help out with that. And when we saw the conditions of the kids, we got back to our room at the missionary camp that we had, and we just kind of sat there on the bed for, it seemed like it was forever. We just sat there on the bed and we just stared at each other like, wow.
What can we do?
We have to do something about this, and the need over there is so overwhelming. The other issue is where do you start?
Now, you're locally based?
Yes, we're based out of Belvedere, Illinois.
Okay, wonderful. And how many different members do you have?
Well, it started with just the two of us, and we have about 35 people that are regulars, and then some folks that come and help out from time to time. So I think total we're probably about 50.
Terrific. And are these mostly people in this area, or it doesn't matter, they can be from across the United States trying to help?
They're from across the United States. We have some folks that help us in Minnesota and Atlanta, Georgia, and Kentucky.
Wow. Well, that's great. Always looking to grow.
Always looking to grow.
Okay, well, what about statistics? Do you know any about the starving children in Uganda?
An exact number I can't give you, and there's a reason for that, but it is in the millions. We've looked up the statistics on former President Clinton's webpage just on the orphan problem in Uganda itself. And understand Uganda is a country about the size of the state of Wisconsin, and they have nearly 1 million orphans that they know of. That doesn't include the ones they don't know of. And of these orphans, the vast majority of those children have a problem with starvation.
Wow. What were the living conditions like?
The ones that we've seen were built maybe out of plywood, and some of them that were the nicer model were made out of concrete, but they were only maybe a 8 by 10 shed.
Wow.
With no door.
Do we know why the conditions are so poor?
Well, it's a country that's had a lot of problems over the years. I mean, even after the Idi Amin regime was out of there, it's a country that's been struggling to create a democratic existence there, and they don't have an education system. They don't have a public education system. They don't have a lot of the things that we in America take for granted every day, and that includes good housing. I mean, we saw the houses that Ray just spoke about, right down to houses made of mud or of banana tree branches with children living in these houses. And So because they don't have the social system that we enjoy here in the United States, it offers little hope for a child to come out of this existence to have any type of prosperous life.
Yeah. Now, what you mentioned, no public school system. Is there any sort of school system?
Yeah, there is school system, but you have to pay for it, and most people don't have the money to pay to send their kids to it.
So most of these kids who you saw weren't in school then?
No, they weren't in school. And what occurs is a lot of the Christian pastors over there who have churches or have started churches will also start schools. And the kids who have family whose parents can afford to pay school fees will go to those schools. And that's really the only way that they're going to get any type of education. So it does create a problem.
What about how often would you say these kids get to eat?
Maybe once a day.
Really?
And a lot of the food that we seen was just a flour-water mixture, just enough to fill the belly, and that was it. Some of them probably don't even get that.
But you mean like a paste? They were just...
Yes. I'm sure there's others that get maybe some sort of a meal, but most of them that we seen were lucky to get that. I did see kids going through the dumpsters, actually looking for stuff, clothes, etc. I'm sure, and that was very, you know, hitting the heart a lot. And I took some pictures of it, and I have them right above my bed just because
as a reminder.
As a reminder.
And you mentioned earlier too, not many had clothes, or if they did, you'd see the same thing over and over.
And I was out there for 5 days with the kids playing with them, and a lot of them had the same clothes every day.
Wow. What about medical care? Anything?
There is medical care available there, but again, it's limited to the people who can access the medical care because it's limited to the people who can afford the medical care. A child that's living on the street that's 7 years old that's taking care of a 3-year-old sibling because the parents are gone is not going to have access to medical care. That's something we hope to change, hopefully by 2008 when we go. We hope to change that. We did lose 3 of the children that we're caring for in March of 2007 to something as simple as measles. And they've gotten so used to or so desensitized to losing children, they didn't even contact us, because I'm in contact with the people in Uganda nearly on a daily basis, until after the fact. We could have wired the money over there so that they could have taken these kids to get medical care, but they've become so desensitized to losing children that they didn't say anything because they didn't think of it until after it had already occurred.
Yeah, what a shame. What about the things that everyday kids like to do, play games and play with toys? Do they have anything over there?
I brought stuff over, soccer balls and hula hoops that we played with, and a big, probably as big as a table, a ball that we kicked around. I didn't see any kids with dolls, with toys, but what they did like is the empty water bottles. They would stand and wait for you to empty it, and you would put the cap back on, give it to them, and it would just run off. And I'm not sure what they did with it, but this was the most popular thing that we brought over.
Because they don't know much. Our junk is somebody else's treasure. My goodness.
In one orphanage that we did visit, we did buy them a group of soccer balls. And I'll tell you, even a bunch of kids who don't have toys, if you give them a soccer ball, they know just what to do with it.
Good. Well, we want to talk about all the great things you're doing for Uganda, but we do need to take a quick break. So stick around for more information. Joining Phil and me now is Pastor Larry McGee, who is a volunteer with Child Initiative International. Welcome.
Thank you.
What made you want to become a volunteer?
I think in everybody's heart there's a desire to be